The only thing necessary for the triumph of evil is for good men to do nothing. I know by now everybody out there is tired of hearing about Kony 2012, but fear not, this is not going to be majorly a commentary on that. Kony 2012 has just kind of illuminated some thoughts in my head, and I hope you don't mind if I spool them out a bit for you. Now, we already know about some decent criticisms of Kony 2012, such as that only about 30% of the donations that they actually receive go to helping the child soldiers that they talk about. Or, well, you know, that's invisible children. But what I've noticed is a lot of criticism from people talking about how Kony is a damn has-been. This has been going on for so long. Why do you care about this? Where were you people 10 years ago when it was actually happening? Why don't you take some time to actually care about things that are happening right now? Which, that makes sense. I can definitely understand where people are coming from with that. What I think a lot of them are ignoring is the hope that this movement will actually serve as a launch pad for people to care about current atrocities. Fingers, eyes, and toes crossed. But the main thing that I have noticed from people who are commenting on this is that there's just a lot of goddamn cynicism out there. There's a lot of people who are commenting on this like, well, this isn't gonna make any difference. What kind of difference are you actually making? I mean, all you're doing is spreading it on your Facebook. That's not doing anything. And as someone who actually identifies as an idealist, despite the fact that I generally don't like to use labels because I don't like how it inclines one to define themselves based on that label as opposed to defining themselves using those labels. I've just realized, based on the cynicism that I've seen from so many people concerning this subject, that cynicism is literally useless. It serves no purpose. There's something to be said for sober realism, but that's not what I'm talking about. Because all the cynical shit that I'm hearing is people saying things like, you can't change anything. Yes, I can. And am. Just how many people have seen it alone? I mean, if that doesn't count as an accomplishment, wow, you just have really high standards for what constitutes an accomplishment, don't you? I mean, my question becomes, when did the spread of information stop counting as some kind of accomplishment? I know that I feel accomplished every single time I make a video just because consider the number of views that I get and consider the very idea of that many people standing outside your window right now waiting to listen to what you have to say with a damn megaphone. That's an accomplishment. Not to mention the fact that these people are actually interested to hear what I have to say. So if one doesn't consider something like that to be an accomplishment, then all I have to say is perspective. Learn it. Well, I don't see any change happening. You can't prove that. You have nothing to point to say that there's nothing happening. I have plenty to point to say that there is. You have reasoning with no facts. You may have a valid argument, but look up the difference between validity and soundness. Well, you can't actually say things are getting better. Look, you look back through history, and for every bad example you can find, I can find you a good one. We're no longer in the Dark Ages. There's no longer an apartheid. McCarthyism no longer exists. The one guy who set himself on fire in Tunisia and sparked the entire Arab Spring. Well, change isn't always good. Air isn't always good. Water isn't always good. And are you going to say something? Well, I already knew about all the issues surrounding this before it even became a fad. That doesn't negate all the people who have been affected by this movement, which sums up one of my main issues with cynicism. It's self-centered. In your infinite wisdom, you're gonna say nothing good happens? Get over yourself. What is this, an argument ad arrogance? It's trying to apply your subjective standards objectively because it's all about, you know, like a universal standard. Like, you're not going to be able to do things in the grand scheme of things. If you're going to look at things in the universal scale, we are a speck of dust and a speck of dust and a speck of dust in an infinitely large space. Nothing matters at that point. If you want to follow those standards to their logical conclusion, then just kill yourself already. In the end, being a cynic is a self-fulfilling self-fulfilling prophecy. You think that you can't make any good happen, and then guess what? It's not gonna happen. As George Carlin so eloquently put it, you scratch a cynic and you'll find a disappointed idealist. And I'm sorry, but if you are a disappointed idealist, then standing back and watching a person drown and going, oh my God, that guy's drowning, and then not doing anything to try and help the person who's drowning, you are part of the problem and why nothing changes. You don't change anything because you don't think you can. And I'm here to tell you that you can. My advice is don't do this to yourself. You can matter and you can make a difference if only you make the decision to do so. I implore you to not make yourself irrelevant by being so craven to be afraid to care. Long days and pleasant nights. Now we all know already some decent criticisms against Tony 12. I mean, my question becomes, when did the spread of information become some